Hey, everybody. This is Erik. It's another good day in recovery. I wanted to talk about what to do when you feel devastated. It's really something that I work with all the time. And there's some things that I just figure could be useful to you during this time. I don't want this video to come across as too simplistic or too, shallow for what you're going through. But I have dear people in my life that are going through very difficult situations. And I woke up this morning early. I just woke up early and I thought, what can I do? Well, I can make a video. The video isn't specific in the sense that it's to any one person. If you feel like, wow, he's saying my story and say like you're a client, I'm not divulging anything. I can assure you that there are multiple stories of what I'm going to share. Since I work in the field of addiction, I'll start there. There are people that are really, really devastated that you've slipped. You may have had some long term sobriety and you just like slipped. And now it's not a good deal. There can be consequences of all that. You might have actually been trying the program over and over and over and over, and you just can't get sober. You might be devastated because of that. You might find yourself married to someone who has addiction problems. Maybe you had no idea, absolutely no idea, that there was an addiction to sex or spending or gambling. You didn't realize you have like that hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And I'm not making this up. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And you just didn't know what you didn't know. It's like it hits you so you just it's like getting a sucker punch where you just can't catch your breath. You can't believe this. Or the person has been arrested. There's some legal consequences for addiction. And you didn't know what you didn't know, or you are the person who got arrested and you were just now devastated, just devastated, immobilized with fear, immobilized with pain, suffering, shame so bad that you just feel like just crawling under a rock and dying. You might be in a place with an addiction, say like to overeating. You go to the doctor and the doctor tells you bad news and you feel sick to your stomach because you feel like deep down you brought this upon yourself. Your coping mechanism was just to ignore these signs, and you feel like you can't do this. You just feel like you can't do this. You have so much shame, it's immobilizing paralysis, and thinking, and thinking. And it's just going on and on and on. You might have a depression that just because of circumstances in your life. You might have had someone close to you die. You might have watched them die. Cancer is devastating. You might have seen them die because of something they did to themselves, like suicide. You might walk into the room and find them there. You might have felt like, whether it was addiction or some other reason, like you could have done something different, and now you just feel terrible, just terrible. You might be in a relationship with your son or daughter, whether they're young or old, and you feel like you've done everything you can, and it's devastating. You're just waiting for them to die from addiction, or you're not trying to wait for them to die, I mean, the person who's so upset, they just feel like there's nothing I can do. And they're just waiting for a terrible phone call. Or you feel like you could do something, but you don't know what to do. You feel like if you kick them out, the term kick them out, that they could be dead in a week. If you keep them in your home, they could be dead in a week. And it was all your fault either way. Even though we know somehow that I can't control someone else's life. We might be suffering from a situation addiction wise where there's been lying, and you've been lied to so many times, and your better reason says, why would I even have a conversation with this person? Yeah, we use phrases like this person, but then you turn around and have a conversation with the person because the person is someone you love and you want to trust and they seem trustworthy. It's just like a mess. And then you're afraid that if you talk to any of your friends, you can't talk to any of your friends about this because they're going to look at you like it's just easy. Well, that's easy for them to say. They're not in the middle of it. Simplistic answers. I believe in simplicity, but simplistic answers where it's trite, it's not thinking things through. There are people that have done such, we'll say, dark, evil crimes against children, let's say, like that. There's people that just say, well, they should be shot. And they should be, I mean, worse things that involve torture. But then you realize there's people that go, but wait a minute, there's a whole story as to how they got there. And I'm one of those therapists that I've heard stories of how they got there. And so I really have a different point of view. And why should that sin be worse than anything else? There are a lot of other ways people can harm people. And I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just trying to have a conversation, a reasonable, rational, heartfelt conversation about, darkness and in the dark things of life anyway. I'm just pointing out that there's many different things that people struggle with, and you can't wrap your head around it. And if you're in the middle of it, say like you have, I work with family members who are in the middle of that, where they feel like they need to just leave, but they don't want to leave. And as a therapist, we have to report things to Child Protective Services. So then here I am trying to help them in the midst of this awful situation, and I have to bring the state into it. Thankfully, I have a good relationship with the state, and it always turns out for the best. It's wild. I'm very happy with 30 plus years. And what I do is report things with the person. In sense, we're reporting ourselves to, just all together. And then Child Protective Services says, well, they're practical. They're in therapy. They're reporting themselves. It's the best possible situation. And I can salvage what's left of a therapeutic relationship. What other devastating things? Say like you accidentally did something. You're driving. And I'm not making these things up. Yeah, all these situations I've been through professionally. And well, drinking, driving, car accident, best friend dies, and now you go to jail for a year. It's devastating. And then you get out and you don't stop drinking. There's no connection between the drinking and how that all happened. So then you find yourself in another situation, or you're in a situation where you had alcoholism and you admit it, but you never really worked the 12 steps. So then you find yourself now addicted to opiates. Devastating. And the list goes on and on and on. think I'll move on to the next section here, which is what is the feelings of devastation look like. And then if I have other situations that come into that, I'll bring them up. I think it's important to talk about situations because they're real live situations. Oh, another one, common one is you may have ignored a marriage or a relationship for a long time. You had addictive behaviors, checking out, not participating. And then you find out that your spouse says, I'm done. I'm done. There's nothing you can do. And that's devastating. Devastating. I see a lot of devastation happen when people avoid things. Yeah, there's a common theme, like we avoid real work in 12 steps. We avoid the doctor. We don't want to know what the results are, so things grow. We avoid dealing with our stuff. Yeah, we avoid working on things and facing things. And then when there's legal consequences or health consequences or relationship consequences where the person says, I'm done, there's nothing you can do. Just stop. And now you find yourself sharing a child, having to figure out where you're going to live. And you're so depressed. It's just a mess. And I think maybe a lot of the devastation is these feelings like I brought this upon myself, like I'm such a bad person. And the other aspects of it is I just can't talk to anybody about this. People come in with tears. I mean, I've worked in situations where the person is not even able to fill out the paperwork. They just are crying. And we work through that. I think you can tell that they're just so afraid to come in. And then when they do come in, there's just a truckload of feeling. Devastation also seems to happen when we feel like there's no choices, there's no solution. It's only going to be a black future ahead. There's nothing to look forward to. Feelings of suicide, which scare people, it really, really scares people. Well, and I've had some of these things touch my life. It's scary to be in that place. To be emotionally where you feel like your emotions are taking you for a ride, like you're going to do what it wants you to do. And if you're struggling with addiction, then all you know to do to numb the pain is to do more of the addiction, which is often causing the problem. The wife says, I can't have you spend this much money and use cocaine. And the guy feels so bad, or the gal feels so bad, they go out and use marijuana or cocaine and spend more money. Or there's so much debt that you just cope by buying something online again. And it may be a small little thing. It may be running for a little cup of coffee that's expensive, like $8. And you just feel like you can't do this. You just can't do this. And that's another feeling of can't do this. I just can't do this. Well, let's talk about solution. Like what do I do to help someone? And what do we do? I don't know what is the first step, but it's like a conglomerate of things that I do. Sometimes I just help the person feel the feelings. You deal with the feelings, just honor the feelings and understand that they're feelings. This is just feelings. Feelings are really not bad or good or anything, they just are. What we do with them is really important. If we stop them, that's not probably a good direction. We need to feel them. You can't really, as a therapist, help someone move into the direction of gaining perspective or logic or solution until you've dealt with the feelings. I used to work on a crisis line, and that was the first thing we learned. and it seems counterintuitive. Someone is really suicidal. You would think you would just try to talk them out of that, help them see clearly. But actually, it feels counterproductive, but you actually just honor the feelings and just really validate. So you really feel like you're better off dead, or you're so embarrassed you can't tell your parents about this. So you really want to just die. And you really just be with them in that moment, and being with them in their pain, being with them in that scary place, actually, that in and of itself kind of helps a lot. It was amazing how it works. Just to have someone with you in that place. And so for those who I'm talking to or talking with today, try to find someone to be with. Just try to be not alone. Someone who's caring, loving, going to understand. As much as you're really, really afraid to share, just share. Humanity is not as bad as it looks. I've found that there's care all around us. There are people that are yeah, my phone's ringing. I'm debating whether to answer it or not. Yeah, I think I'm going to answer it. I'll put this in another video here.